As we welcome in everybody, welcoming in Yetzi Fuchs, A.B. Spry, Aaron Swade, Eddie Chazan, Shimon Klein, Stephen Holtzman, Marshall Castle, Mel Zachter, Irving Fishbaum, Michal, Dr. Guy, Ruven Pollack, Yitzi Muller, Dr. Block, Mark Frankel, Nachman Chaplin, Moshe Lehman, Menachem Yamansky, Ilya Shutman, Avi Ament, Moshe Lehman, Abe Arbach. I look at the Zoomers and except for maybe, one person, it's really wonderful to have everybody. It really is.
I resemble that
remark. I'm not talking about somebody that's wearing something that makes them stick out. I wouldn't be talking about someone like that. We welcome in David Helfgott on Kololoshin, and here in the shul, Reb Blumenfeld, Reb Gedalia Engel, Rich Leonard, Saba, Reb Krause, Reb Herbst, Avram Schenkman. It's great to have you back. Ruvain Shannet, and we're waiting for our 10th Art Center. We are dedicated by A.B. Spry for our soldiers, for the safety of our hostages and their recovery, and for the safety of Klal Yisrael, the healing of the... it's unbelievable. I saw a picture of a rocket that landed on somebody's marpeset. It knocked down the railing and landed on the marpeset, but it didn't enter the house. It's the miracles that are around, they're clear to see. And we say to Tillim, and we learn for them, we have to know that it's certainly making a difference. You just see open miracles. I saw a film of the missiles that were coming in. They're coming in one right after another, right after another, right after another. And they're not, being shot into the desert. They're being shot into populated areas. And the Iron Dome is also fueled by Hashem, and it's fueled by our tefillas. So anyway, A.B. Spry dedicates for their safety and for Issa Zev Ben Yuta, Shimon Klein, Lin Nishmas Hashan Ben Yehuda, Gittel Bas Shimon Pinchas, Irving Fishbaum for Issa Ben Razel, for himself. He should have always gesund for my Shra B'Gdaya Ben Rivka, Meir Ben Chaya Sarah. And for Reb Elia Yaffe, he's not here yet, but Reb Elia Yaffe's wife is really struggling with excruciating back pain. She should have refuah shalema nechama Sarah Bas Miriam. Okay, we are holding by the way, the Mishnayos is already on film on Torah Anytime on YouTube on Koloshin, because I said a shir tonight, a short shir. It was 8 minutes, but it's really kedai to listen, whether you listen on Torah Anytime or on YouTube or on Facebook. I spoke about the Saint Talamot Levracha for 8 minutes. I spoke about the Malach of Af Bri, the Malach of in charge of Matar. So it's a very interesting talk. You should listen to it. We're holding by Rapapa Mishmei Derava, which is 8 lines from the bottom of Lamed Beis Amud Beis. 8 lines from the bottom of Lamed Beis Amud Beis, 32b. Rapapa Mishmei Derava Masna La Reisha teaches this discussion on the first part. Hanichnes l'chanoisei shel nager shaloi b'rishus. So Chatzkel comes into Marshall's carpenter's store without permission. V'nitza loy bakas, and a chip or a log shoots out from Marshall's axe. V'topcha loy al panav, strikes Chatzkel in the face, umeis, and he dies. So Potter. Marshall had a closed sign on the shop. The Marshall had a closed sign on shop. The guy had no right to come in. So Marshall is Potter. Amar Reb Yosi bar Chanina chayiv ba'arba dvarim. A whole new look at this. Marshal is chayiv to pay the nezek, tsar, ripuy, and sheves, the damages, pain, the medical and temporary unemployment. Upater migalas. Now, Rashi,
Mr. Watt's question from last night, how do you pay on
Rashi says, why? Why is Marshal chayiv to pay? So, Kavan de Chazia de Ayel, since he saw him come in, he boilei liyune. And by the way, the question that I know is on Marshal's lips, which is an excellent question, is if he died, what's the unemployment? And the answer probably is until he died. Now, that's what you were going to ask, Marshall, right?
It works, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, now, Mandi Mastila Seifa, the one who teaches this on the latter part of the Mishnah, then that he's parted from Galus, Kol Shechein Areisha. The one who teaches it on the latter part of the Mishnah, where in other words, the Sefer is where he went, where he came in with permission. And earlier we said that even if he came in with permission, Marshall said, come in, even then Marshall is exempt from Gullus. Then definitely over here, where Marshall's, had a closed sign up, so he's surely parted from Gullus. Omandi masna la reisha, but the one who teaches it only on the first part, where the person didn't have permission to enter, aval seifa, but where Marshall said come in, kavan de bershus, since Marshall gave him permission, then chayiv Gullus. Then he should have been more careful when he was shopping, and he's chayiv Gullus. Says the Gemara, Obi chayiv Gullus? If Marshall said come in, and he chops, and the chip went out and killed Chatzkel, is he chayiv Gullus? V'tanan, V'tanya, we learned in the Brisa, hanichnas l'chanoisei shel nafach. In this case, Marshall was a blacksmith. So hanichnas l'chanoisei shel nafach, Chatzkel came into Marshall's blacksmith shop, v'nitza nitzoitzes, and a spark flew out, v'topchaloi al panav, and hit him in the face, umeis potter, v'afilu nichnes berishus, even if he comes in with permission. So you see over here that even if he comes in with permission, Marshall is exempt. Says, that's different. That's talking about a different case. It's talking about where it was Marshall's carpenter's apprentice. So the Gemara says, and Marshall doesn't have to be careful with his apprentice. Says the Gemara, Shulya de Nafcha, I know he works for Marshall, but that's kind of ridiculous. You mean if he's Marshall's apprentice, he's destined for death? Well, Marshall doesn't have to be careful with his apprentice. Says the Gemara, Kishirabai Misarav Boilotzes. It's talking with Marshall says, listen, it's time to go. I got to see the hockey game. Just leave. And he doesn't leave. He's holding back Marshall in the hockey game. For Marshall, A hockey game is Yarek Val Yavar. Says the Gemara, Umishum the Rabbi Misav, and because Marshall is telling him to leave, he has permission to kill him? I mean, even in Chicago, that takes the cake. Says the Gemara, Kisavar Yotza. Marshall thought he left already. So the Gemara says, if Marshall thought he left already, Ihochi Achar Nami, then even if it's not an apprentice, he shouldn't be Chayiv Golos. He thought he left. Says the Gemara, no. Achar Lesla Emsa Deravye. Another person is not afraid of Marshall. He's not going to leave so fast. But his apprentice is, his livelihood depends on it. And, if he wants to afterwards Marshall to recommend him for jobs, Isla Emsa Deravye. And therefore Marshall had the right to assume that when he told him to leave and he says, I'm going, that he's going to listen. Rav Zvid Mishmei de Rava Masne La'aha teaches this discussion on the following. In the Pasuk it says that Vasher Yovo Yesreyeyu Bayar Lachtoiv Eitzim, and he came with his friend into the forest to chop wood. V'niptze Yodai Bagarzin Lichroisa Eitz V'nochshal Abarzil Mina Eitz. If the blade flew off the axe, umotza esreyeyu, and found the friend, v'meis. So the case is where when the blade flew off the axe, it was in the trajectory to hit Chatzkel. But if when the blade flew off, it wouldn't have hit Chatzkel, but then Chatzkel moved into the path of the blade, then Marshall wouldn't go into Gullus. And that's the Gemara's drush. Let's see it inside. Umatza pratla mamtzi es atzmai. It's only if it found Chatzkel's head there, that was the trajectory when it flew off the handle. But not when Pratla Mamsi Etzasman, that's not when the Chatzkel moved into the path afterwards. Mikan Omer Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and whenever Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov speaks, we listen, because Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Mishnosei Kav V'Noki, it's measured words, but it's very clean, it's very refined, we always paskin like him. Misha Yotza Evan, Mitachas Yodai, if let's say Marshall throws a 90-mile fastball with a rock, he fancies himself a veritable Dak Gooden. V'hoitzi Allah es roishai the kibla, and then the Chatzkel sticks his head out of the window afterward, and the rock hits him. Potter, Marshall is Potter. Amr Rabbi Yosi bar Chanina, Potter Migalis. Here's where we now insert what we learned. Amr Rabbi Yosi bar Chanina, Potter Migalis. Marshall is Potter from being exiled, but v'chayev ba'arba dvarim. So the Gemara says, Man demasne lo aha, the one that teaches it on this case. Now in this case, he threw a murderous pitch. Kol shrein akamaisa. Surely in the first case, he's Potter Migalis. Excuse me. No, the Rashi learns that this is not going on Gullus, this is going on the Chayev in Arba Devarim. And he says, Man demasne lo aha, the one that says that Marshall is Chayev for Arba Devarim, when Chatzkel sticks his head out afterwards. Kol shrein akamaisa. Surely in the first case, where Marshall gave the person permission to come into the store. Oman demasne lo akamaisa, in the first case, avala aha, but in this case, where Marshall didn't know that Chatzkel will stick his head out from the window at all. So Potter legamre, he's exempt even from the Daled Dvarim. Now, Marshall, as you know, he has a lot of workers. but there's a big turnover because the workers got to get paid. That's a little problem. But now what happens over here is Tan Rabbanan. Poyalim shebo litvoya schoren mi balabayis. They come into Marshall's ranch to collect them the pay. V'nokhan shorishel balabayis, and they're gored by the axe of Marshall, or v'noshchan kalbay, or they're bitten by his wild dog, shel balabayis, umeis, and they die, potter. Marshall is potter.
That'll teach you from coming to get
Right,
money.
that's right. That's what Marshall says. You know, the money is much better in my pocket. And if that means that you have to sleep tonight in the cemetery, so be it. That's Marshall's motto. Acherim oimrim, others say, Rashon poyelin litfoya schorim mebalabayis, that they have permission to come into Marshall's property and claim payment. So the Gemara says, well, what's the case? If Marshall is available at the shop, so then my time in the why should they have permission to come onto his private property? If that's where he usually pays from his house, then what's the reason of the Tanakama? My time in the Tanakama. Says it's talking about Marshall who's not so available. He's not so available. I mean, getting money from Marshall, as we said, it's easier finding a 1964 mantle than getting money from Marshall, right? Vikari Abava. So Chatzkel knocked on the door. Vamalu in, and Marshall says yes. How do you interpret Marshall's yes? Mar Savar, one says in ul, yes, enter ta, and come, mashma. And then, if the Marshall's animal gores him, then Marshall is going to be chayiv. Umar Savar, but one holds in. What does in mean? Yes. Kum aduchdeich mashma. Stay where you are. I'm coming out. And then Marshall won't be chayiv because he didn't give him permission to come in. So the Gemara says, Tanya command yom in. Yes. Kum aduchdeich mashma. Stay where you are. The Tanya. Poyel shenichnas litvayas charim balabayis. If a worker comes to take his pay from Marshall, and the axe of the balabais gored him, or the dog bit him, potter, even though he came in with permission. So the Gemara wonders, if he came in with permission on my potter, why is Marshall potter? Ella loved the curry above, he was knocking on the door, Amalei in, and he said, yes, that was the permission, yes. Vishmami no, that yes just means stay where you are, and I'll come out with a check. Vishmami no, in, yes means stay at your place, stay where you are, and I'll come out and I'll give you a check. I see Jay Siegel is having trouble entering. Would recommend him to try again. Jay, just try again. I see you in the waiting room, but it's not going through. I see Jay is on Facebook also, so try again. It's good to have 27 Zoomers and 9 people here in the shul. We need one more person. Reb Pesach, you would be our minion. Now, Shnei Shvarim Tamim. This is all logical stuff. Marshall and Marshall and Michael have 2 oxen. Shechavlu zeh. They damage one another. They're both tamen. So mishalmin b'meiser chatzi nezek. So whichever one does the bigger damage, so of course Marshall's animal is the bigger bully, and he does the bigger damage. So let's say that Michal's animal did $200 worth of damage, and Marshall's animal did $300 worth of damage. So the difference is $100, and since it's a tam, Marshall pays $50 because you only pay the difference of chatzi nezek. So again, shnei shvarim tam shechavlu zeh. If the two oxen wound one another, mishalmim b'maisa, the one who has the bigger difference pays a chatzi nezek. So since Marshall did to Michal $200, Michal's ox did to Michal did to Marshall's ox $200. Marshall did to Michal's ox $300. So the difference is $100. And since it's a tam, Marshall pays $50. Shnei muadin, if they're both a muad, same case. Marshall's animal did $300 and Michal did $200. So muad pays a nezek shalom. So the difference here is 100. So Marshall has to pay the full 100. Mishalmim b'maisa nezek shalom. It pays the difference, the full amount. Echad tam ve'echad muad. Oh, now the plot thickens. Marshall's animal was a 3-timer, and Michal's was a 1-timer, or muad b'tam. So muad b'tam, if it's Marshall's with Michal, so Marshall did a damage of $300, and he did a damage of $200. The difference is $100. Mishalom b'meiser, the difference, he pays an ezek shalom. Tam b'muad, if it's Michal's was a tam, and let's say Michal's ox did $300 damage, while Marshall's did $200, so then Mishalom b'meiser chatzi nezek. So then Michal pays the difference half, he pays $50. Now, we're going to talk more about in the Gemara about this case because it can get more complicated. If instead of the shars, they're not cowing around, there's a fight between Marshall and Michal, so, and Michal does $200 damage, and Marshall does $300 damage, since Adam Muad La'aylam, so Mishalma Mamaisen Ezek Shalom, he pays the difference, the $100, the full amount. Adam Muad Ba'adam, same thing as if Marshall has a fight with Michal's Shar, and the Shar is a Muad Ba'adam, so either one pays an Ezek Shalom, a Muad pays an Ezek Shalom, and the human pays an Ezek Shalom, so Mishalma Mamaisen Ezek Shalom. Adam B'tam V'tam Ba'adam, Marshall has a fight with Michal's ox, and his ox is a tam. So Adam B'tam, Marshall is an ezek shalom, so he pays the difference. Mishal Mamais an ezek shalom. Tam Ba'adam, Michal's ox is a tam, and if he does $300 damage while Marshall did $200 damage, Mishal Mamais, he pays in the difference a chatzi nezek. Here now, it's amazing. It's already Daf Lamed Gimel. Rabbi Akiva introduces now a new opinion. Rabbi Akiva says, when does tam pay a chatzi nezek? That's only if it injures an animal. But a tam that injures a human pays a nezek shalom. Now, it's the dim that a tam pays a chatzi nezek. Rabbi Akiva says that's only when it damages a shar. But when a tam, a first timer, damages a human, he pays an ezek shalom. And therefore, Rabbi Akiva says, finishing off the Mishnah with a real zinger, Af tam shechavo ba'adam, if Michal's ox gets into a skirmish with Marshall, and Marshall did to the ox a $200 damage, and Michal's shar did to Marshall a $300 damage, so there's a difference of 100. Mishalim b'maisin ezek shalom, because it's the opinion of Rabbi Akiva that a tam it's opinion of Rabbi Akiva that a tam pays for a human injury a nezek shalom. Okay, Rabbi Yisai. Now, the pasuk is very ambiguous over here. The pasuk says, "Oy ven yigach, oy vas yigach." If it gores a son or it gores a daughter, kimishpat hazeh ye'asalai. Like this law, you should do to him. And the question is, what does it mean, kimishpat hazeh ye'asalai? Because we assume that a tam pays chatzi nezek even when it injures a human. So now we're going to have to interpret the ambiguity of kimishpat hazeh ye'asalai. Says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan, kimishpat hazeh ye'asalai, kimishpat shar b'shar. The Rabbanan learned this pasuk like the law of a shar damaging a shar. Kach mishpat shar ba'adam. Ma shar b'shar, when a shar damages a shar tam, a first timer mishalem chatzi nezek, or muad nezek shalom. Af shar ba'adam tam mishalem chatzi nezek, or muad nezek shalom. And most of the time when we learn through the Masechta, this is the position that we're used to. The position that we're used to is that a tam, even when it injures a human, pays a chatzi nezek. However, comes along Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, in the chronological order of the psukim, the pasuk right before this pasuk is talking about a shor hamuad. So Rabbi Akiva Aimer kimishpat hazeh ketachton. What's mentioned below, right before this, v'loy ke'enyan, and not what's mentioned above, previously about a tam. So therefore, we say that when a shor kamishpat hazeh means hazeh is limiting only to what's immediately mentioned before, namely a mu'at, that when you damage a human, it's always says it didn't like a mu'at. Now, it always says it didn't like a mu'at. I might say also that if a shor tam damages a person, it should be paid from aliyah, from meitav, and not from the guf of the shor. So the Gemara says, Yachal, I might say, Mishalim min aliyah, Talmud Leimer ye'asa loi, and Redashin loi, Migufay Mishalim, Migufay Mishalim, from the body of the shor you pay, Ve'ena Mishalim min aliyah. The Rabbanan zeh lamali. Why does it say zeh? Oh, that's coming, the poitroi me'arba dvarim. That's coming to say that if a shor injures a human, you don't pay the tsar, ripui, sheves, and boishes. Rabbi Akiva lepoitrei me'arba dvar minole. Oh, that he learns out nafkele me'ish ki yitein mumba misai. Only a man that makes a blemish in his friend, ish ba misai pays dalad dvarim, v'loy shar ba misai. Rabbanan say, I might think that just comes to exclude payment for pain. Says the Gemara, Rabbanan imahi, I would say, tsar l'chudei, that just comes to eliminate the payment for pain. Aval ripui v'sheves, but cure and unemployment, ema litein le, I might think you have to do, kamash malan, that's why it says the further limitation of zeh.
Can I add something on the Mishnah, on this past Mishnah before we move on to the next?
Yeah.
We said that if a tam gores a muad, you only pay the chatzi nezek of the difference, but it really should be more. Because if the tam caused $200 damage and the muad $300 damage, or vice versa, if the tam...
Okay, so that's why, if you notice, I said that the first thing is we tabulate the damages, the full damages. And then we give the payment of chatzi nezek only on the difference.
Why?
Huh?
Why should that be? It should be, if he damaged him $200 and the other one $300, it should be a chatzi nezek of 200, it's 100.
In other words, what you wanted to say is when the tam does $300 damage, we should just say that it's $150 damage.
That's right.
Okay, so do you hear what you're saying?
Am I saying the same thing? Does it come out to the same?
Do you hear what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're saying that he only did $150 damage.
He did 300 damage, but Chatzi Nezek of $300.
But that's not how we calculate it. First, we take the damage. One did 300 damage and one did 200 damage. And then we say, okay, the difference between the damage is 100. We're still talking about damage. You're talking about payment. You hear what I'm saying?
Sort of. I mean, I understand. It's just that for me, it makes more sense to look at each one's damage, and then the Tom pays Chatzi Nezek of the entire damage that he does, instead of just overlapping them. It's not true Chatzi Nezek.
Half of 300, half is 150. You have the other $200 damage, half is 100. You know, 50. That's enough, yeah. You come up with the damage, and then you divide by 2.
So the Maisa is, the Artsko brings down that the Rambam learns like you. The Rambam learns like you.
I think mathematically why it comes out the same.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't at all. It's very simple. Let's say Marshall's axe did $300 worth of damage, and he's a tam. So if you calculate that that's 150,
Right.
and Michal's did 200 damage, and it's a mu'id,
Oh, it's 200 minus.
so then then the difference is 50, then Marshall will only have to pay 25.
So Marshall can't be a Tom.
You hear what I'm saying?
525, it's 150 and 200.
Marshall's tam did $300 worth of damage.
The town.
Shh, let me talk and listen. He did $300 worth of damage. It's a tam. So that's 150. Michal's did $200 damage.
Okay.
Right? So what's the difference now between the two?
$50.
50.
$50.
Between 150 and 200 is 50.
Yeah.
And if that's the difference now, Marshall should only have to pay 25. Because he pays a Chatzi Nezek.
But we took off already the Chatzi Nezek.
Okay, if you're going to say that, I could argue both ways, but if you're going to say that, it's still only 50.
50, yeah.
Right.
But according to Rashi's Keshbin, it's 100.
Give me
Because Rashi's Keshbin is Marshall's animal did a damage of 300, and Michal's animal did a damage of 200. What's the difference? 100.
And now you do get Chatzi Nezek, so you're going to get Chatzi 50. 50.
Hold on.
Which is the Chochet had to figure out there's a...
Hold on.
I only tried it 20 ways.
300. Difference is 200. Difference is 150. Okay, let's try 400. Let's see if you're right. Okay, 400. Marshall's animal is a tam. It's 400. And Michal's animal is a mu'id, is 200. So then, if you calculate it as a chatzi, it's 200 and 200, there's no difference. Then there's no payment. Right? If you do it this way, 400 and 200, the difference is 200, then the payment is 100. So there would be a difference.
Oh, then you're right. You're right.
So Enochanami, it's a very big halachic difference between Rambam and Rashi. Okay.
choice.
Okay, I think that Rashi's pshat is more pashtus of the lashon. But anyway, Rabbi Kranz, if you want to look into it, I think the Rosh says what I'm telling you, but you'll have to be ma'ayin into the Rosh.
Okay, thank you.
Shor shava mana shenogach shor shava mitzayim. So what happened over here is Marshall's axe, which is worth 100, Gore's Michal's axe, which is worth 200, and he totals it. Ve'eina nevela yafa klum. Michal's axe is finished. He totaled the axe. The carcass is not worth anything. Imamish Marshall's axe ripped it to shreds. And on a klum. So Michal walks away with Marshall's axe, because although Marshall's axe was a tam and he only pays a chatzi nezik, but his was worth 100 and Michal's was worth 200. He totaled Michal's $200 axe, so he has to pay a chatzi nezik, which is Marshall's shar. So Michal just takes away Marshall's shar. Good luck. Michal's a smart guy. He's just going to have steak dinners the whole winter. So now, as a matter of fact, Michal said he's inviting Mark Frankel for a steak dinner, a cowboy steak. Now, Masnis and Mani, who's the author of the Mishnah? Rabbi Akiva. You see, here's an interesting question. Does Marshall have to give his animal? Or do we just say that Marshall's liability does not extend past the value of the animal? In other words, if Michal's animal was $1,000, Marshall doesn't have to pay more than $100. Because since he's a tam, he only pays migufay shel shar. Right? So he only pays $100. That's it. He can't pay more than, really, it's a tam. He should pay $500. But sorry, payment is only megufay. But Marshall has attachment. This shar, by the way, its name is Elsie. And Marshall, he's attached to Elsie. He takes him with him to the hockey games. They cheer together. They eat Romanian franks together. Marshall,
My future Frank.
right. Marshall really likes Elsie. Really likes Elsie. Could he give him money instead? So Rabbi Shmuel says yes. Michal doesn't have a right to take the animal. He just has the right to take the value up to the animal. But Marshall can give him a C note and tell him to get lost. For that matter, Marshall can give him, 500, dreidels, whatever's worth $100. He could give him tickets. He could pay anything that's shavakes. Rabbi Akiva says not that way. Rabbi Akiva says as soon as his shar does the damage, Michal becomes a 50% partner in the shar. He becomes a 50% partner in Marshall's shar. That means I'm talking about if he did damage $200, and the show was worth $200, so Marshall has to pay $100. So Michal has half of the shar. So let's see the Gemara inside. Masnis and Mani, who's the author of our Mishnah that Michal could just take the $100 shar? Rabbi Kivi. The Tanya, and here again, we have to translate an ambiguity in the pasuk. It says, Yusham hashar bebezna. When it says that the shar is mechalz, it means that we evaluate the value of the shar, and he can only get payment up to the value of the shar. Divrei Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Akiva mehuchlet hashar. No, the shar becomes mechalz. But my kamifli, Rabbi Shmuel savar bal chayvu. Marshall owes him money. He's in debt for $100, and he owes him money. If he wants, he could give him the shar, but he doesn't have to. If he's partial to LC, then he can give him a C note. Rabbi Kiva b'shutfei ninu. No, he becomes a 50% owner. Let's say the shar, let's say the damage was $500 and the shar was worth $1,000. He becomes a 50% partner in the shar. And they're arguing with the following pasuk. They sell the live ox, and they divide the money. Rabbi Shmuel Rachmana. The Torah is talking to Bezdin that if Marshall doesn't want to pay the amount, so then sell the shar and give the chatzi nezik from the shar. Rabbi Kiva Sava Lenizik or Mazik Mazilu Rachman. The Torah is talking about the Nizik and the Mazik, that they divide the shar, and Michal gets half ownership of the shar. So what's the difference? Now, we know one difference. Rabbeinu Peretz says this. One difference is if Marshall doesn't want to give him the shar. According to Rabbi Shmuel, he could give him money instead. While according to Rabbi Kiva, Michal could demand the shar. But there's another difference. Hikdishay nizik ikibeinai. The question is, what happens if Michal was makdish the shar? So if you hold that Marshall doesn't have to give him the shar is an hektish. If he does have to give him the shar, then the shar is hektish. By minei Rav Nachman, machroi mazik Rabbi Yishmael Mal. What happens if after the shar does damage, Marshall sells the shar? Can he sell it? Since Rabbi Shmuel says, look, he owes money, he just owes $100 to Michal, and it's just money that Michal has a claim, Macher, so he could sell the shar. Oy Dilma, or perhaps, suggests the Gemara, Oy Dilma, there is another possibility, and that is, Kavan de Meshabed Leila Nizik, since Michal has a lien on this shar, Lav Kol Kamine, it's not up to him to sell it. Amalei, so the Gemara says, you're right, ain't a Macher, Marshall can't sell it. Says Gemara, Vatanya Mechara Macher, it's a good sale. Says Gemara, Chayzer V'Goyva. What it means is that even if Marshall sells the shar to Rich, because nobody on the Zoom will buy it for Marshall, but Marshall sells the shar to Rich, Chayzer V'Goyva. Michal could come and take it away from Rich. Now that, the Gemara doesn't find that to make sense. A creditor can't take your brake front. A creditor can't take your Electrolux. A creditor can't take metaltalin. First, the Gemara asks a different question. If Michal could take it away from Rich, what does it mean? Lama macher. What does it mean that the sale is a good sale? So the Gemara says l'ridya. That means that if in the meantime Rich plowed with it, then when Michal takes it away, he doesn't have to give payment for his use of plowing it. While he plowed with it, he gets away with it. But the Gemara says something else. If Rich bought it legally, a creditor could take it away from him? We know a creditor could take real estate. A creditor can't take movables. That's a yesod in all of Shas. A creditor can't take movables because otherwise buyers would never be able to protect themselves. They could never do a title search on movables. Says the Gemara in incredulity. Shmami lo loiva meichem metaltalin. That if Mark borrows money and then he sells movables, he sells a piano, Bezdin Govel a man? Bezdin could collect for his debt from the buyer of the piano? Of course not. Says Gemara, Shani Hosim the commander also apoitiki done. Here it's different because it's like Michal had a exclusive lien on this axe. Because since he could only collect from Megufay from this axe, he can't collect from anywhere else. It's as if he had an exclusive lien on the axe. Says Gemara, that doesn't help. Even an exclusive lien on metaltalin, the creditor can't take it away from buyers. If you made an exclusive lien on a slave, and then the owners sold it to Rich, Bezdin Goyvemenu. Bezdin could take it away from Rich. Because a lien on a slave is known. But if there's a lien on an axe, and Marshall sells it, the creditor can't take it away from Rich because there's no way to know about a lien on an axe. Evan, my time, so the Gemara answers, on this axe, the lien will be known because it gored somebody. And a goring somebody, that has a curl. Evan, my time, what's the reason why if there's an apoitiki on an Evan, the creditor could take it, mishum dislay kola. You'll find that on a title search. Hi Nami, this axe, since it gored someone, kaven the naga kola islay, it has, it's well known, the turin al khana korile. Tani Rav Tachlifa ba Marava Kame di Rebbe Avo. So Rav Tachlifa ba Marava taught before Rebbe Avo the following split decision. Mecharai einoi macher. If Marshall sells the axe, it's not sold. Hikdishai muktish. If he sanctifies it, it is sanctified. So that's a contradiction. Mecharai man. He sold it, it's not sold. According to who? First of all, who sold it? Number one, who sold it? Ilay mazik b'chayrai. That Marshall sold it. And we're saying, Einu macher, it's not sold. That must be according to Rabbi Akiva, who holds that the shar is awarded to Michal. Mani Rabbi Akiva, damar huchlet ashar. That the shor itself is awarded to Michal. Vikdishay muktish, but then it says that if Marshall is makdish, it's muktish, that would be going according to Rabbi Yishmael. Asam Rabbi Yishmael, Damar Yusham Hashar Bebezdin, that Marshall owns the shor and just owes him money. It doesn't work. One part is Rabbi Yishmael, one part is Rabbi Akiva. It doesn't work. Ella nizik mechara yeina macher. If Michal sells it, it's not a good sale. Why? Mani Rabbi Yishmael. That's going according to Rabbi Yishmael, who holds that Michal doesn't get the shar, he's only owed money. Hikdishay mukdash. What are you going to say? But if Michal is makdish it's hektish. That's also in Rabbi Akiva that says that the shar is awarded to Michal. Says the Gemara la'olam mazik. It's talking about where Marshall sold it. It's talking about where the one who's Marshall who owned the shar that did the damage. Everybody holds that if he sells it, it's not a good sale. Why? Because afilu Rabbi Yishmael, even according to Rabbi Yishmael, because Michal has a lien on it. So since he has a lien on it, an exclusive lien on it, because you can only get paid migufay, so therefore, since he has a lien on it, everybody holds the sale is not a good sale. Hikdishay mukdish, but if he's makdish it, it's hektish afilu Rabbi Akiva. It's hektish even according to Rabbi Akiva, who says that the shor still belongs to the shor already belongs to Michal. because he holds yuchlat hashar, and Michal has a right to take the shar. Even so, if Marshall is makdashin, Michal can't take the shar out of hekdesh until he gives a token pidyon of a pruta. And when it says hekdesh and mukdash, it means he has to redeem it with a token redemption. Why? That people shouldn't think that something that your makdish could go out of hekdesh without opinion. Mishum de Rabbi Avo. I'm a Rabbi Avo. Gezeira shemer yaimru, that people shouldn't say hekdesh yaitze below pidyon. That hekdesh goes out without pidyon. Now, and by the way, if you're finding tonight's Gemara a little bit hard, that's because there's a lot of minutiae and a lot of details. So if you think that there's something wrong with you, there isn't. Yeah.
I do think there's something wrong with you, but I want to ask a question. So if Marshall just comes back from a hockey game and he's loaded with money because he bet on the right team.
Right.
So he's got money stuffed in
Right.
pockets every place.
Right.
So then Elsie, does 1,000 zuz worth of damage to this other cow.
He's only liable to pay the value of the shar.
You don't pick on my LC.
No, don't forget, this goes back to how liable he is for a shar tam. We had one opinion that says that stam shvarm becheskes shimur kaimai, that we assume a shar doesn't bother anybody unless he was started up with. And really, Marshall shouldn't have to pay anything. But we put a knas of a chatzi nezek in order that he should be extra careful. So since it's extracurricular, so to speak, we put a limit to that it's only megufa. I can't believe I'm defending Marshall.
No, we're defending Elsie.
And this is recorded too.
Yeah, like he says, by 500,000 Haimish Yidden. Now, Tana Rabbanan. So now we're gonna learn a brisa that's gonna tell us a lot of things, and then we're gonna painstakingly go over each point. So be patient. Tana Rabbanan. Short tam shehizik. If Marshall's first timer does damage, actually Ahmed Bedin, if it was before they issued the verdict in court, Mecharay Macher, if he sells it, it's sold. Hikdishay Mukdish, if he dedicates it, it's dedicated. Shachtai, if he slaughters it, or in his son of a matana, or he gives it away as a gift, Masha Asa Asa. What he did is done. Right? So, if you look at Rashi, when it says Mecharay Macher, Kula Hachbraisa Mefarish L'Kaman. Rashi doesn't want us to sweat it too much, so he says, "Don't worry, we're going to take apart this brisa piece by piece and explain it." Misha Ahmed Bedin, once they issued a verdict, Mecharay Eina Macher. If he sells it, it's not sold. Higdishai, if he dedicates it, Eina Mukdish. Shachta, if he slaughters it, or in the son of a matana, or gives it away as a gift, Lo Asav Lo Klum. His action is not valid. He can't give it away. Michael has a lien on it. We'll see what happens. We'll see. What does that mean? Does that mean that the meat has to go to Michael? We'll see. If, let's say, creditors of Marshall's that he owed money to, somebody's phone is ringing. If creditors that Marshall owes money to go ahead, vigviu, and grab the axe that he owes to Michal, bein chavat shelo hizik, whether their debts preceded the damage of the shar, bein hizik at shelo chav, or it damaged and then they owed Marshall the money, loy asav loy klum. The creditors can't take it. Why? Because Michal has a strong lien on this animal because he could only get paid from this animal. Now that's if the animal was a first timer, a newbie. Mu'ed shehizik. But if the animal of marshals that did damage was a 3-timer, bein shamad b'din, bein shelo yamad b'din, whether it was after the verdict, whether it was before the verdict, mecharay macher. If he sells it, it's a good sale. Hikdishay mukdish, if he was makdish, it's hekdish. Shachatay, if he slaughtered her in the son of a matana masha asa, what was done was done. Kadmu balichayvis vigviu, if creditors took the axe from him, bein chavat shleizik, whether he owed the money before it did damage, bein hizik at shleichav, big deal. They're going to come after Marshall's car shop. They're not worried about the shar. Masha asa, why? He only pays from the best of his real estate, so it's okay that people should take the shar. They could get it by matana. It could go to a seller. It could be sold. It could be dedicated. Now, Amamar is like a gufa. In other words, now we're going to take this apart piece by piece. So he said if it was a tam and it was sold. So the Gemara says, Mecharay macher, if it's sold, it's sold. This means that it's sold l'ridya. That means that in the interim, until Michal takes it, when it was sold to Rich, and Rich plowed with it, so when afterwards Michal takes it away from him, Rich doesn't have to pay him for the use of the plowing. Hikdishay mukdish, it's hektish. That means that when Michal takes it away, he has to give a pidyon of a pruta, that it shouldn't look like it's going out from hektish with nothing. Mishum d'Rebbe Avo. Shchatay v'nesana b'matana, Masha asa asa. Now, what does that mean? If he slaughters it or he gives it away as a gift, what's done is done. Bishleim in the son of a matana, that means that if he gives it as a gift to Saba, and Saba plowed with it in the interim, Masha asa asa l'ridya. That means that Saba doesn't have to pay to Michal that he used it for plowing. Elishchatai, but what do you mean if it was slaughtered, what's done is done? Let Michal take the meat. What do you mean what's done is done? Leisei v'lishtalim ibisare. Let Michal take his payment from the meat. The Tanya Chai, if it's alive, how do we know that you could collect it even if it was slaughtered? Says the Gemara, of course Michal takes the meat from Saba. If it was given as a gift, if it's not Saba, if Marshall shechted it, of course he takes the meat from Marshall. The question is, what about if it deteriorated when he slaughtered it? When it was alive, it was worth $100. And now that he slaughtered it, it's only worth $80. So the Gemara says that Marshall doesn't have to pay that difference. That it deteriorated when it was slaughtered. So, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Very interesting. This means that, listen to what this means. This means that Marshall, by slaughtering it and taking away what Michal had a lien on, he's not chayiv for that. So listen to how the Gemara words this. Amar Rav Huna b'rei Reb Yeshua zoisay meres. This proves hamazik shibudai shel chaveiroi. that if you damage what someone had a lien on, you're potter. So the Gemara says, Pshita, that's obvious. That's grumma. So the Gemara says, Mao de Sema, Hasam hu de amalei loy chesarticha v'loy midei. I didn't do any damage. The amalei zika ba'almo de shakri minach. I just took an ear out of it. It was alive. Now it's dead. That just hot ear. I just took hot ear out. But let's say that Avram has a lien on Reb Hertz's karka. And Gedalia makes a bunch of holes in the karka, thereby damaging Avram's lien. I might think that Gedalia should be chayiv. Aval ba'alma lechayiv kamash malon. Says, well, hanami rabba amra. The amra rabba hastayrev shtarasam shel chaveiroi. I have a document that Reb Blumenfeld owes me $1,000. And Ruvain burns the document. Thanks a lot, Ruvain. He's potter. He's potter. If you burn somebody's documents, potter. Says, yeah, but that's different, like Reb Hertz mumbled under his breath. I only burn paper. Where Gedalia makes holes, he makes in the karka that Reb Avram had a lien on, he makes pits and trenches and caves, ruining it, l'chayiv, kamash malan. In our case, where he shechs the animal, command the chafa babayr shichin amaris dummy. It's as if he dug pits and trenches and caves. He made it worth less. And the Gemara says, what's done is done. I have to tell you that this was a pretty hard piece of Gemara. Look at it. It's 9:15 already. It's pretty late. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It'll get easier. Remember, is tomorrow Wednesday?
It is.
Yeah, tomorrow is Wednesday. So tomorrow night, after the daf, is a Chanukah shir. So invite friends for that as well. Special Chanukah shir, and it's a nice one. Really have a nice Chanukah shir for the island. We could use one more sponsor if anybody is interested. 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Thank you for joining us. We only have 9, right? Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And have a wonderful... Do we only have 9? Yeah. And have a wonderful evening.